has received Best Teacher Award, Pune Pratishthan, 1989. Madam has received it from Lions Club, Rotary Club, and there are many other awards like Guru Run Best Teacher Award by Marathwada Association of OBGYN. She's stopping me and I can't this thing, but we all are really happy to have Madam, and Madam is going to give us some pearls of her wisdom. Then we have Dr. Janjad sir, who's currently Professor and Head at Department of Forensic at Government College, Sholapur. Sir has 20 years and over experience. He has 29 publications in national and international journals, and he has delivered lot many lectures to police officers, public prosecutors, judiciary officers, forensic science lab officers. He is administrative. He also has some positions of administrative responsibilities at DMER Mumbai, MUHS Nasik, and at college level. So, sir, we welcome you, and so nice to see you. You are part of this medical college, and we are really happy to have you, sir. Please welcome, sir. The next person is very important for today's panel and for every one of us is Dr. Jyoti Shetty, Madam. She is Professor and Head, Department of Psychiatry at Bharati Vidyapeeth Medical College. She is Convener, Child Psychiatry Subcommittee of IPS 2015 to 2016. She was Convener of Forensic Psychiatry and Law Subspecialty IPS 2019 and 2021. Co-chairperson IPS Perinatal Psychiatry Task Force 2021 to 2022, co-chairperson IPS WZ UG Education Committee 2021 to 2022, advisor IPS POXO and JJ Act Task Force 2022 to 2024, chairperson IPS West Zone Branch Child and Adolescent Psychiatry Subcommittee, president PPA from 21 to 22, lot many publications, and basically she's an excellent orator and she understands the psychological problems as well as the law problems related with it. And we are going to listen to her today. Madam, I welcome you on behalf of MIMER, and you have come all the way for this panel. Thank you so much. Please welcome Madam. Then we have Dr. Vaishali Deshmukh joining in. She is a pediatrician, but she practices only adolescent clinics. She is in charge of 9 to 19 clinic at Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital, and she has her teen clinic, Bharati Hospital also. She is master trainer for various adolescent modules, faculty in national and international conferences. She has her research on growing up changes, body image, papers published in Index Journal on these topics. And wonderfully, she has written this book in Marathi, teenage.com 1 and 2. And she has series of articles on adolescent health published regularly in periodicals. We welcome you, Madam, for this session and looking forward to your practical tips on adolescent. And then we have Dr. Sampada Tambolkar. She is a pediatrician as well as she is a FAMER Fellow and PhD scholar, and we congratulate for submission of your thesis today, and we welcome you. She's professor in pediatrics at D.Y. Patil Medical College, Pune, and she's practicing at Pashan. She has keen interest in medical education, and she's member of MEU at DPU. She is member of Board of Studies in DPU, and she's a resource person and faculty for MUHS Degree Plus programs, and at present she is Joint Secretary of AACI CCI Pune. She has been also a part of 9 vaccine trials and 3 international clinical trials, especially the WHO trials on oral polio vaccine. Past Joint Secretary of IAP Pune, and she's been a reviewer of Indian Journal of Child Health. So we again welcome you and looking forward for your tips. So we'll start with the discussion. We have collected some questions from our students as well as our faculty. But in case during the discussion, if you have certain questions, you can pass it on, and if time permits, we would be able to take it. So we all agree that adolescent is a time when it is a time to fly, lot many physical changes are happening. It is a time to develop the self-esteem. It's time to gain the medical and physical strength. It's a time of facing those hormonal effects and understand what's going on in our own body and mind. But at the same time, they love the speed. This generation is online generation, Gen Z. It's a selfie generation, and we are facing them. And while doing this, Madam, I'll start with you. In your OPD or in your experience, you face these adolescent girls coming into our gynec OPD. So what is the commonest things they come with?
Good afternoon to one and all. This is a postprandial period, but let me assure you that our discussion will keep you awake throughout the program. See, the question which was asked to me, common problems with which the adolescent girls are coming. Majority of the girls, they do come for some menstrual irregularity. It could be in the form of prolonged, or the interval between the two cycles is too much, or she may come with or she's coming with a frequent cycles, means she will get a period before 20 days interval, or excessive bleeding. Could be, she may give history that there is a period of amenorrhea, not menstruation, for say 3 months or 2.5 months, and then once the bleeding start, it is continuous for few weeks. So this is excessive bleeding. What we call in obstetrics is a menorrhagia or oligomenorrhea, hypomenorrhea. With different symptoms, they do come. Rarely I get a case where the pubertal growth is inadequate. Majority of them, they do come with a menstrual problem, because this is the time when hypothalamo-pituitary-ovarian axis is still not well mature.
Ma'am, do they come with other problems than menstruation, like obesity, sudden
Yes, many do come that they wanted to keep their weight. म्हणजे चवळीची शेंग राहावी, कारण त्याच्या पुढे नट्या असतात डोळ्यासमोर, त्यांना ते फिगर मेंटेन करावीशी वाटते. सो दे कम फॉर द डायटरी ॲडवाईस. अजून काही पेशंट येतात, मुली येतात, दे आर ओबीज. एक आता रिसेंटली तुम्हाला गंमत सांगते, एक मुलगी आली होती, वय वर्ष 18 कंप्लीट, 19वा रनिंग होतं. ती म्हणाली, मॅडम आय एम व्हेरी पर्टिक्युलर अबाउट माय हेल्थ. लास्ट 2-3 सायकल्स आय एम हॅव्हिंग व्हेरी मिनिमम ब्लिडिंग, म्हणून मी आले ना तुमच्याकडे. मग म्हणाली, लास्ट 4 months देर इज अ लिटल बिट गेन इन वेट. म्हटलं किती वेट गेन झालं? 10 किलो म्हणाली. हां, आणि आत्ता तिचं वेट काय होतं माहिती का? वय वर्ष 19, हर वेट वॉज 74 kgs. आणि वॉट शी सेड, आय एम व्हेरी पर्टिक्युलर अबाउट माय हेल्थ. देन आय आस्क्ड हर की वॉट एक्सरसाइजेस शी इज डुईंग. ती म्हणाली, अहो जाते, कॉलेजला जाते, तिथे किती हिंडावं लागतं ह्या क्लासमधून त्या क्लासमध्ये. मग घरी काय करते? घरी सगळीकडे ना आमच्याकडे बायका आहेत आणि आई काही करू देत नाही मला. मग एक्सरसाइज काय करते? अहो एवढा पुष्कळ झाला एक्सरसाइज म्हणाली. तर म्हणजे असे एका एका बाजूला वेट गेन खूप होते, आणि एका बाजूला दे वॉन्टेड टू रेड्यूस द कॅलरी इनटेक डेली. रिस्ट्रिक्शन म्हणजे सेल्फ इंड्यूस्ड रिस्ट्रिक्शन ऑन डाएट, आणि वेट म्हणजे 0 फिगर टाईप त्यांना हवं असतं. पण बोथ आर नॉट गुड फॉर देअर ऑब्स्टेट्रिकल करिअर ऑर रिप्रोडक्टिव्ह लाईफ.
हो मॅडम, बरोबर आहे. तुम्ही म्हणालात तसं दोन्ही प्रकारचे स्पेक्ट्रम बघायला मिळतात. काही जण फक्त ॲक्नेसाठी येतात, बावरून जातात, त्यांना क्लिअर स्किन हवी असते, लांब केस हवे असतात आणि छान फिगर हवी असते, कारण त्यांच्या डोळ्यासमोर असतात. तुम्ही म्हणाल्याप्रमाणे काही कॅटरीना कैफसारखे त्यांना तसं दिसायचं, असं ते वय असतं की त्यांना तसं दिसावं वाटतं. संपदा, आय विल कम टू यू दॅट what you face in your OPD, what kind of problems girls come with?
हॅलो हां ॲक्च्युली वॉट मॅम सेड इज 100% करेक्ट की आमच्याकडे दोन्ही स्पेक्ट्रम येतात. म्हणजे एकीकडे पिडियाट्रिशन असल्यामुळे माझ्याकडे माल न्यूट्रिशन पण येतं आणि एकीकडे मॉल न्यूट्रिशन पण येतं. अँड पोस्ट कोविड तर वी हॅव स्टार्टेड फेसिंग, म्हणजे जरी हा ॲडॉलसंट प्रॉब्लेम नसेल तरी पण वी आर गेटिंग अ लॉट ऑफ पेशंट्स हू आर कमिंग फॉर अर्ली प्युबर्टी. आणि I have personally done a study with 59 girls being giving GnRH analogs या पोस्ट कोविड कालावधीमध्ये. सो दॅट इज वन प्रॉब्लेम. मेन्स्ट्रुअल इरेग्युलॅरिटीज, अर्ली मेन्स्ट्रुएशन, अर्ली थिलारकी. सेकंड थिंग, बरेचदा या मुली एकट्या येतच नाहीत, त्यांच्या आयाच घेऊन येतात त्यांना. अहो हे डॉक्टर ऐकतच नाही. म्हणजे टिपिकल ॲडॉलसंट प्रॉब्लेम्स की मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स वॉट दे आर वरीड अबाउट इज द फॉलिंग अकॅडमिक परफॉर्मन्स. हा एक खूप मोठा मुद्दा आहे आणि तो फॉलिंग अकॅडमिक परफॉर्मन्स हाल्यासाठी पिडियाट्रिशियन किंवा ॲडॉलसंट मेडिसिन एक्सपर्टची गरज काय? बिकॉज देन वी स्टार्ट डुईंग द हेड्स असेसमेंट फॉर देम. म्हणजे वी लुक ॲट देअर होम ॲटमॉस्फिअर, वी लुक ॲट द एज्युकेशन, वी लुक ॲट द ड्रग्स अँड अदर डिपेंडन्सीज, वी ऑल्सो लुक ॲट द सेक्शुॲलिटी अँड वी ऑल्सो लुक ॲट द स्ट्रेसेस. आणि ह्या जो प्युअर स्ट्रेस फॅक्टर आहे तो त्यांची ॲक्च्युली जेव्हा त्यांची आम्ही मुलाखत इंटरव्ह्यूज वी स्टार्ट गोईंग इन टू द डिटेल्स, we come across a lot of psychosomatic issues. So I think what starts with the mother getting a casual complaint of a boisterous nature or a rebellious nature, which is pretty common in adolescence, we actually come to know that ही Gen X किंवा आता ही Z येणार आहे, त्यांच्याकडे मेन दोन आहेत. सोशल मीडिया प्रेशर्स, जे जास्त आम्हाला जास्त जाणवतं या ह्याच्यामध्ये, एस्पेशली पोस्ट कोविड. अँड सेकंड थिंग इज प्युअर प्रेशर्स अँड परफॉर्मन्स प्रेशर्स.
आपण येऊया त्या याच्याकडे. सो यू मेड व्हेरी गुड पॉईंट्स. टू थिंग्स दॅट मदर इज इंटिग्रल पार्ट ऑफ दिस, that the girl will go to the mom and she will come with the mom, or she will come with some friend of her and she will have physical at the same time. So as a doctor we need to be very patient, we need to give them time. You said that psychosocial element we need to recognize. So it's not that the physical complaint which they are doing, that's the only issue. So we have all these issues while handling adolescents.
Yes.
Girls are pretty open with their mothers and they discuss a lot. But Dr. Vaishali, I would like to ask you, what about adolescent boys? Do they open up to their parents similar to girls, or it's a different experience with boys?
Yeah, so thank you. And I agree with you that when, until recently when we talked about adolescent medicine, it was, the picture that came in front of our eyes was that of girls. And that too about their physical issues, and that too which were basically focused on the reproductive health. But now we know that we have to look at the adolescents in toto, including their body and mind. And boys form half the adolescents. So we can't really leave them aside. And if we wish to make any changes, we have to really focus on both boys as well as girls. So supposing, let's take an example of, say, acid throwing. So when a boy is refused by a girl in love, the boy wants to throw acid on the girl. Why does this happen? So the boy feels jilted. He feels as though his masculinity is at stake. He feels as though, he's been taken for granted, and he feels really insulted. Whereas a girl maybe just, she doesn't want to get into a relationship right now, or maybe she has some other issues. But the boys take it personally, and I think they are the victims of the society's patriarchal attitude. So we can't really blame them, and that's why we have to educate them and talk to them about all these issues. So if I share one example with you, one day I took a session in a school, and when I came out, it was a session for 8 standard boys. So the boy came running behind me, and he started asking me that when I go home, my mother, keeps telling me, do this, do that, keep your shoes there, come and eat, wash your hands. And then I get really irritated, and every day I shout at her. And when the boy was telling me this, his eyes were watering. And he was feeling so helpless and so emotional. So it's not that boys don't have issues. They are also weathering the emotional and the physical storm and the hormonal storm. They are also going through all these psychosocial changes. And so I think the boys who come to my clinic, they come with a range of issues, right from sexual reproductive health to pubertal changes to behavioral issues, to scholastic problems, to addictions, including screen addictions, and also friction with their parents, peer pressure, and so many other things. So I think boys are today recognized as an integral part of adolescent practice.
Yeah, very well put. So they also need help at that particular time, and I think they should also have somebody they will open to, and a great guidance if we can provide, that will also help.
Vaishali, you said the girls are discussing the problem with the mothers, but my experience is different. They are actually they should treat their mother as a first friend, but their problems they are disclosing to their peer group.
Peer group rather than
And
talking.
whatever knowledge they are having, which may not be scientific at all, but they will impose that on. And then that girl means she is in need of some medical help, but she will not take that or she will not go for that.
Yes, madam. So we all need to encourage this adolescent age group to go for a scientific information than going to peers or online or Google University or WhatsApp University. They should get a proper consultation, and we all need to help them where they should find this with. Janjat sir, we have a question. Like, we have a recent movie, and the adolescent boys and father's relation is portrayed in a very bad manner, and that makes a big impact on his whole life. So how do you put it? Like, how important it is to have a role model for a son or a friend at home in the form of a father? Because yesterday also we had this discussion that if the girl or the boy, if they do something wrong, it is always the mother who gets blamed. So how important it is for being a good father or a role model for a boy?
At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me opportunity and inviting me here. It's always feel great coming over here and discussing, because this is my home college. I work over here for a few years, and it's always good to come over here. Now, as far as the topic that we are discussing, since probably this is the adolescent health, this is somewhat neglected topic basically. Now, this topic, as you are coming with the health of the adolescent, there are so many facets to this adolescents. This topic need to be discussed by families, by peers, by friends also. Now, as far as relationship of son and father is concerned, see, you must understand the adolescent at this age, they are not aware about what going outside. Whatever they are learning, they are either through the media, that is the mobile, that is the most potentially risky thing which they are handling now. And probably they might be getting some wrong information through this social media, or they might be getting some information from the friends. But as a family, as a father, as a mother, are we discussing the same thing with them?
Correct.
So first and foremost, we should have a good relation with your son or daughter in the adolescent age. This is the age where so many changes that happens in that age. So if in a family, if you have good relation with your daughter and son, a healthy relation, open relation, probably if they are having some problem, they will open up and they will convey it to the father or mother.
अगदी बरोबर.
परंतु घरामध्ये जर तुमचं वातावरण चांगलं नसेल तर probably they may not go and talk to their father and son. Probably they will find some other way outside. And that is the problem where you might face some issue will start.
येस. सो आपलं पॅनल ॲग्री करत आहे की आपल्याला आपलं वागणूक बदलावं लागेल जेव्हा आपल्या घरात ॲडोलसंट येतील. वी हॅव टू बी फ्रेंड्स विथ देम फ्रॉम बीइंग पेरेंट्स अँड बीइंग स्ट्रिक्टर. नाऊ वी हॅव टू इन्वॉल्व देम in a way, like, we sometimes can share our failures with them. We can tell them that how we have come out of it. We can even involve them in some decision making, so they start feeling very integral and important part of the family. And then the relation develops, आणि मग ते ओपन अप होतील आणि त्यांचे प्रॉब्लेम आपल्याला सांगतील. सो खूप
They are coming and they are telling you something, but we as a parent we neglect. जाऊ दे, काल आपलं डिस्कशन झालं, दलवाई साहेबांनी सांगितलं की काही नाही असं होत असतं रे. सो वी शुड रिस्पेक्ट देअर प्रॉब्लेम्स. मीन्स कंप्लेंट्स छोट्या छोट्या का असेनात, but we should respect and we should talk to them and spend some time with
Some
the
time,
child,
spending
because
time.
it is very essential. But nowadays the problem is means father is working, mother is working, आणि IIT वाल्यांना तर यायला इतका उशीर होतो, so they just can't give adequate time for their family, which is very necessary, but because they are having, children are having many problems, and as he said, that they should tell the problem to the parents first, and parents should listen quietly so that they can solve the problem.
Yes. Dr. Jyoti, I have a question for you. Like, this is a time of forming the body image, but we have early bloomers and we have late bloomers. But when they come to college, everybody wants that girl should look at them. राखी बदर पोझिशन ज्या मुलांना मिळते त्यांच्या मनात थोडासा वेगळा कॉम्प्लेक्स व्हायला लागतो. सो हा बदल त्यांनी कसा ॲडजस्ट करावा? हाऊ दे हॅव टू अंडरस्टँड दॅट समटाईम्स द डेव्हलपमेंट विल टेक सम मोर टाईम.
Thank you. At the outset, I would thank the organizers for inviting me here. And thank you for the question, Dr. Vaishali. Here, I would say, I think from all the panelists, that what we have gathered is that communication is one thing that is required. Second is that when we talk about adolescence, I think we need to look at it from a gender neutral viewpoint, because for a healthy, profitable, productive society, we need both boys and girls and all specters of the spectrum of the genders to be coming together and having an emotional well-being, which will help in the health of society. So when we talk about body image, it's not only about girls having, being socially influenced. It's also boys being influenced by social media, by what they see online, what actually they feel is expected in terms of having a body type, in terms of, fulfilling certain criteria for showing. And as you talked about, whether it was the films or whether it was, what we see, or whether it's influencers who probably are from their peer group, who may not have too much of, information, but who convey a lot of wrong information with regards to how to develop a physique, what nutrition to have. And obviously this impacts what they form of their own body image. Body image and self-esteem goes hand in hand. Self-esteem is the belief that, how you feel about yourself, whether positive or negative. And having a negative self-esteem will obviously go hand in hand with having a poor sense of body image, feeling that you're not the right look, you don't look the way that you should be looking at this particular age. And this impacts them as far as mental health is concerned, because in future, any sort of stress factors, any sort of, failures will probably be related to having this sort of negative self-esteem. It also is a predictor of having depression as a clinical disorder later on. So body image is something, and having a positive body image is something that we need to inculcate in our adolescence from youth. And children, maybe early bloomers or late bloomers. In fact, I just wanted to add a point which Dr. Sampata also had brought up, and Dr. Vaishali. When we talk about precocious puberty, I think it's also related to how the environment has changed around us.
Yes.
So there are certain environmental pollutants that we know of, which obviously are causing endocrine changes, which is, we hear news about plastics being present in our bodies, and that obviously is impacting our endocrine, our metabolic systems. And that is another factor that we need to look at when we are seeing adolescents. Thank you.
So we all agree that we need to talk more about this, and even the cross-gender talk. Like, the boys should also know about menstruation. They need to understand the changes the girls are going to go through. So I think those changes, once they understand, they will make responsible son, responsible husband of tomorrow. So both of the genders, they have to understand what exactly is happening, and nobody is going to bloom at one particular age. So early bloomers, late bloomers, they have to understand and wait patiently for the body changes. Madam has just raised about the diet. In adolescent, we see two groups specifically. One is like zero figure group, and the other group is behind protein supplements, and they want to have all the muscles developed. So Dr. Sampada, how do you treat them or how do you handle them?
Ma'am, first, just to go back a little, I think when we were talking about the father's son, let me just go back a little. With the disintegration of the joint family culture, there was never a talk, I mean, there was never the need for the older generations or previous generations to go outside because you had a talking kaka or a maushi or a mami or a mama. And having a responsible adult in your household was the key, which I think if there is the availability, you should harness the use of this responsible one. So if you as a adolescent expert are explaining things to them, give the positive things that maybe as a family physician you know about the kaka or the mama and maushi and how they have become what they are in a positive sense without any protein supplementation. Second thing is we have to, nowadays everything they ask for an evidence. So let's make our talk also evidence based.
Yes.
So if you have a student of science coming and claiming to be robust with a packet of protein, talk about the negatives he's going to get on his kidneys.
Yes, this is very important.
So give them positive role modeling and give them the negative role modeling also so that they can actually identify it. So that is how I actually talk to them and make them understand that there is a certain time for certain things and there is a certain thing where whatever time it comes, you're going to say no to it. So it's not a one session thing. You keep on building that trust and talking to them. I think that would be the key.
ते त्या इम्प्रेशनमध्ये असतात तूप खाल्लं की रूप येईल आणि मग ते प्रोटीन पावडरचे डबे हे अगदी कितीही गरीब असलं तरी आईवडिलांकडे हट्ट धरून ते प्रोटीन आणलं जातं खाल्लं जातं जिम बिकम्स एन नेसेसिटी फॉर देम बिकॉज दे वॉन्ट टू हॅव दॅट माचो लुक Dr. Vishali, I would come to you that you must be coming across boys taking steroids for developing this muscle. So how do you deal with them?
Yes, so I think you put it very aptly कि तूप खाल्लं की रूप दिसतं की they want an instant result. So nobody has time to wait, you know. Nowadays everybody's in a hurry and they just want to be like their idols. And we all know that while growing up, adolescents are still their hormonal system is still developing. So how much ever steroids they take or how much ever proteins they take, their muscles are not going to be like Hrithik Roshan or anybody else. So I think that is the scientific information that we have to tell them, that they're still in a transition, and how much ever raw material they put, their muscles are not going to be built. So what they have to do is focus on having a good diet, a good physical activity, so that their bones and muscles basically grow, and then they will bulk up later.
Precisely said. त्यांना फ्लेक्झिबिलिटी आणि बोन स्ट्रेंथनिंग मसल स्ट्रेंथनिंगवर फोकस केलं पाहिजे रादर दॅन त्या मसल्स किती कशा दिसतात आणि मला वाटतं आत्तापर्यंत या जनरेशनला हे कळलं असावं की स्क्रीनवर जे दिसतं ते सगळं तसंच नसतं. त्यात बरेचसे फिल्टर्स असतात, त्यात बऱ्याचसा मेकअप असतो, त्यात बऱ्याच प्रकारचे म्हणजे सगळे चेंजेस त्यांना समजावे आता समजत असतील आणि दे विल टेक इट विथ अ पिंच ऑफ सॉल्ट अँड दे विल नॉट रन बिहाइंड दॅट पर्टिक्युलर हिरो इमेज. दॅट्स वॉट वी होप.
And I think the physical activity that we advise them is not gymming or anything.
Correct.
We tell them to go out and play on the grounds, you know, play in open air. Just play any traditional game or some structured game like a football or anything. Do anything, but go out and play. And so that will help them to develop in the overall way, not just one particular focused way. They don't want to just develop their biceps and remain, 5 feet in height.
Yeah, very rightly put. And playing any sports develop your psychological aspect also, coming together, sharing, accepting the defeat, developing the resilience it matters a lot. And it is totally different from just being in front of a mirror and looking at your individual muscles and developing them. So I think sports is the one our panel recommends for all, that they should, and that will help them physically as well as mentally.
Ma'am, can I just add one thing?
Yes, please.
A special message to the parents: the moment you advise some physical activity, pat comes the question, मी आता कुठला क्लास लावू याला?
Yes.
So that should not be the mentality. See, no classes are required. There is no need to spend money on any class. Just going out for 40 to 50 minutes every day in the evening and actually playing out in the playground is more than enough. A takeaway message, because then immediately the answer is that मग आता मी ह्याला ह्याचा क्लास लावू का, क्रिकेटचा लावू का, फुटबॉलचा लावू का, काही क्लास लावायची गरज नाही आहे. Identify his strength. If he's very good at it, then let him go for his classes. No denying it. But there's एक मग ती स्पर्धा सुरू होते पालकांच्यात. मी या क्लासला लावलंय, तो त्या क्लासला लावलंय. नॉनसेन्सिकल स्पर्धा असते ती. सो
म्हणजे आपल्या प्रत्येक प्रश्नाचं उत्तर फक्त ॲडोलसंटसाठी नाही आहे, तर पेरेंट्ससाठी पण आहे आणि त्यांचाही रोल खूप महत्त्वाचा आहे हे समजून घेण्यामागचा. थँक्यू फॉर ॲडिंग दॅट.
संपदा, what you have said about the classes, it is for the group of means family who can spend. पण आता आमच्याकडे जे पेशंट येतात ते लो सोशो इकॉनॉमिक ग्रुपचे असतात, तर एक्सरसाइज करावं, पण आम्हाला ना जिमला परवडणार नाही. मी म्हणते जिम कशाला लावायचं, दोरीवरच्या उड्या मारा, सूर्यनमस्कार घाला ना, तिथल्या तिथे घरातल्या घरात बाहेर जाऊन खेळा. तर प्रॉब्लेम मुलींचा असा आहे की इन अ स्कूल many times ground is not available. Secondly, त्यांना समजा जर 1 तास दिलेला असेल फॉर प्लेईंग, तर इंग्लिशच्या टीचर म्हणतात, हे मला म्हणजे अनुभवाने सांगते बरं का, मी पुण्यातल्या खूप स्कूल्समध्ये हे रिप्रोडक्टिव्ह हेल्थवर लेक्चर दिलेत. मुली म्हणतात आम्हाला गणिताच्या टीचर किंवा इंग्लिशच्या टीचर म्हणतात आता खेळायला जाऊ नका, आपला पोर्शन राहायला आपण हे डिस्कस करू. म्हणजे दे आर नॉट गेटिंग टाईम टू प्ले विथ द पिअर ग्रुप. हे सुद्धा एक जरा
if I can add, there is another villain in this physical activity, and that is, so once a boy came to me and he was overweight. So I asked him, don't you play anything? So he said, yes, I play every day. I play football, cricket. So I said, then how come you gained so much weight? Where do you play? So he said, I play on my PlayStation. Yes.
हो, आजकाल खरंच आहे वैशाली, की त्यांना विचारलं ना काय रे, म्हणजे आपण एक्झामिन करताना विचारतो काय रे कुठला खेळ खेळतोय, खेळ नाही ना हल्ली, त्यांना खेळ कळतच नाहीत. सो कुठला गेम खेळतो, मग तो पबजी वगैरे सांगतो. म्हणजे हे रुटीन आन्सर झालं आहे त्यांना. गेम म्हणजे तोच वाटतोय.
अगदी बरोबर. आणि मी त्याच मुद्द्याकडे आता वळणार होते की ते कुठल्याही ठिकाणी बसलेत, म्हणजे आत्ता ऑडिटोरियममध्ये जरी काही ॲडोलसन्स आणि काही स्टुडंट्स असतील तरी ते फोनवर असतील आणि ते गेम खेळत असतील, इतके ते स्क्रीनला ॲडिक्ट झालेत. सो आय एम कमिंग टू डॉक्टर ज्योती, टू यू, दॅट हाऊ डू यू टॅकल दिस स्क्रीन ॲडिक्शन and the social media pressure?
I think we have even Dr. Vaishali, who's also been seeing children and adolescents with behavioral addictions. In fact, I think this whole group of disorders has been included in the DSM-5, which is a classificatory system brought out by the APA. Because addictive disorders, what are the hallmarks of it is that, someone who keeps repeatedly doing it, to the extent that it affects all their normal functioning, it becomes like a craving. They feel like doing it repeatedly. They have to increase the number of hours that they spend. So all these behavioral activities actually can take a form of an addiction. So screen time addiction is something that has been included, and it includes like things like online, whether it is your mobile or gaming. So these are all disorders now. Of course, we have to look at it from the perspective of we are in 2023, in fact at the tail end of 2023, and post-pandemic there have been a lot of changes. I think when we talk about screen addiction, or when we talk about how much time do we spend online, you just mentioned that most of the people here may also be on their phone simultaneously. What we have seen is in the pandemic and afterwards, everything shifted online anyway. So when we talk about, what is healthy screen time, I think that went out of the window when schools went online. Because when we talked about, IAP, I think, had come out with guidelines with regards to how much of screen time should a child use, right from, obviously they said below 2 years, not at all, and then afterwards, depending on the age groups. But when you have online school, that is a good 3-4 hours that the children were in front of the screens. Whether they took in any education, that is a question left apart, but then it became a part of our lives. So when we talk about behavioral addictions, I think we have to factor that in. In fact, for all of us, I think even physical conferences like this was not happening for some time. Even today we have hybrid conferences. We are sitting in front of our computer screens and gazing and talking to the computer rather than to people like you. And the interaction is again online. We have online telemedicine, telepsychiatry, for
Even
example.
we conducted classes online
Yeah,
during
we
COVID period.
are
So
doing
teacher and students were online.
So everything was online. So when we talk about behavioral addiction, I think we are talking about people who can't live without it, who can't switch off. Now we know that we may be going to school and we may be going to classes or colleges, and we switch off once we come home. Unfortunately, with the mobile being there and we are having smartphones, there is no way that we can switch off, because if it's not classes or if it's not a webinar, we have a whole lot of social community groups which are online and we chat. We don't meet physically probably, but we are online all the time. And when it is excessive, unfortunately what happens is it impacts our mental health, our physical health. We were talking about, sending children outside and how the interpretation of gaming has changed, where, PUBG is taken, okay, I'm playing a game means what? PUBG I'm playing. Or it's an online football game, for example. So the whole understanding has changed. And I think we need to get back to adolescence understanding that how much should be controlled. Just as, probably a decade or two ago, we were talking about, drug abuse, for example, saying no in terms of what we can say we should not be having, in terms of whether it is a first puff of cigarette, weed, alcohol, whatever. Here I would also like to add, being a psychiatrist, that not all children or adolescents or young adults who start using some substance necessarily become addicted. There are a whole host of other genetic, familial factors that actually drives that trajectory towards addiction. But excessive use which harms us is definitely there. And I think it starts with when we talk about, mobile use, or even when we are talking about smartphone addiction or whatever, overuse. I think we as parents, we have been talking about adolescents' health, and I think all of us on the panel have been bringing in parents. So when we bring in parents, we're talking about us as role models also. Coming to again the generational differences, I think all of us on this dais probably are Gen X or baby boomers. For example, Madam is probably a baby boomer, we are all Gen X. And we are seeing adolescents who are probably Gen Z, who are born between 1997 to 2010, and even younger ones, the Gen Alpha, the 13-year-olds. So they are an online generation. We cannot really tell them go offline. So, we can't just tell switch off your mobile, switch off your laptops, switch off your pads. But what we can actually do is show that we can switch off and have a communication with them, which is offline, which is interactive. And I think that is the parenting role model that we should also take home with.
आपण सगळे जेव्हा लहान होतो तेव्हा आपल्याकडे आपण खेळायला जायचो आणि आपल्याला आईस बजावून सांगायची की 7च्या आत घरात. म्हणजे ग्राउंडवरनं आपण अंधार पडला की घरी, आणि त्यानंतर जेवण, मग एक 8-8:30 पर्यंत टी व्ही, आणि मग तो टी व्ही बंद व्हायचा आणि आपल्याला झोपावं लागायचं. सो अशा थोडेसे रिस्ट्रिक्शन्स, डॉक्टर वैशाली, हाऊ वुड यू पुट इट, लाईक व्हॉट एक्झॅक्टली, हाऊ वुड यू कंट्रोल द स्क्रीन टाईम?
Okay. So actually, what people have now realized is that rather than focusing on the screen use, let us use on the other aspects of their lives. So let us focus on their physical activity. Let's focus on their peer interaction. Let's focus on their hobbies and social interactions, and even awareness about other people. And all these things will probably once, and of course their sleep. They need at least 9 hours of sleep, so that the hormonal secretion is normal, so that their, every repair of their body happens. So all these things are necessary, and if we say that at least these things should fall in place, then automatically the screen time will be restricted to some extent. Because we know that when we say no to an adolescent, they take it as a double yes, and they very vengefully try to do that again and again. So we have to make sure that they sleep well, they eat properly, they have no screen in front of them while eating. We make sure that they interact with their friends. We make sure that they come for family functions. They nurture a hobby. They read. They help other people. And when they do all this, and the remaining time, then they can manage whatever the way they wish to. And in the when they're using the screen, we have to make sure that we make them screen literate, like make them understand what are the risks and pitfalls, what are the side effects of excessive screen use, what are the precautions that they have to take, and what are the problems they can face.
Yes, Dr. Sampath.
Actually, very well put by all the panelists. What we also can do is that, like we observe fast, no? कोणाचा सोमवार उपास आहे, कोणाचा मंगळवार आहे, कोणाचा बुधवार आहे. What I generally recommend is a mobile fast in the evening. So a mobile fast by all the family members and not the adolescent alone. So 6 to 7:30 or 8 is the mobile fast. And I've actually tried it at my home during COVID times. Only my husband's phone was ringing because he was looking after the COVID ward. So he was not anyways there. But what we did was that a mobile fast means, but what do you do with that time, 2.5 hours available? So if you do not give them an alternative activity to do, they are not going to listen to you. And the alternative activities that we managed, आम्ही रामरक्षा म्हणायला सुरुवात केली, आम्ही 16वा अध्याय वाचायला सुरुवात केली, and all the adolescents of the family became pit pat with अथर्व शीर्षा, रामरक्षा and 16वा अध्याय. So if you as a family activity inculcate that, you just call it as a mobile fast and 2 hours just go offline and then increase the time duration, that helps actually.
सो आपल्या कौटुंबिक जडणघडण आणि घरातली माणसं किती आहेत, त्यांचं किती घट्ट नातं आहे आणि ते एकत्र मिळून काय काय करतात, हे जर आपण बघितलं तर मग आपली ॲडोलसंट्स पण त्याच्यामध्ये इन्व्हॉल्व झाली तर आपोआपच ते स्क्रीनपासून थोडे लांब जातील आणि त्या काळामध्ये काहीतरी चांगलं घडू शकेल, फॅमिली बॉन्ड वाढू शकेल, त्यांचे प्रॉब्लेम्स आपल्याला कळू शकतील. पण मला असं वाटतं सगळ्या पॅनलिस्टनी हे सांगितलं आहे की हा फास्ट हा फक्त ॲडोलसंटसाठी नसेल तर तो आपल्या सगळ्यांना करावा लागेल आणि ती रिस्ट्रिक्शन्स आपल्याला घालून घ्यावी लागतील.
नाही पण स्क्रीनचं म्हणताय तर आता खूप जणांच्या घरात मी ऑब्झर्व केलं की कामावरून आलं की आई स्वयंपाक करते, ते 9 वर्षाची मुलगी, 8 वर्षाची मुलगी हातात मोबाईल घेऊन ते खेळ म्हणा किंवा त्या कार्टून्स वगैरे, म्हणजे मदर्स आर टेलिंग दॅम कीप युअर सेल्फ एंगेज विथ दॅट, आय एम डुईंग वर्क इन द हाऊस. तर मदर कॅन कंट्रोल दॅट, नो राईट. सो दे गेट हॅबिच्युएटेड टू दॅट थिंग राईट फ्रॉम अर्ली adolescent period or late childhood, which continue till they become.
मॅडम, लहान मुलांना पण आपण बघतो की घरात ती एकटी असते, तिला कामं संपवायची असतात, तर ते टॅबलेट बाळाला दिलं जातं आणि मग त्याच्यावर त्या पोएम्स आणि तसं आपण त्यांना हळूहळू त्या स्क्रीनला हे होतं. डॉक्टर नरेश, यू वॉन्ट टू ॲड टू समथिंग?
Usually all the children, they usually follow their parents. And the problem is, it is the difficulty for the parents to stay away from the mobile. Even though the madam has recommended that we should follow the उपास सारखा, किती जण याच्यामध्ये ॲग्री होतील तेवढं जरी ठेवायला? मला हा पहिला प्रश्न. थेरॉटिकल मॅडम सगळं बरोबर आहे, आपण प्रॅक्टिकल इम्प्लिमेंट करताना इट बिकम्स व्हेरी डिफिकल्ट. म्हणजे खरं आहे तुमचं म्हणणं असायला पाहिजे. इज इट पॉसिबल? मॅक्झिमम लोकांना विचारा 1 तास सुद्धा मोबाईल ठेवू शकत नाहीत, आज ही कंडिशन आहे.
सर, मग याचा अर्थ त्या पेरेंट्ससाठी ॲडिक्शन करायची गरज आहे.
एक्झॅक्टली. मी पहिल्यांदा सांगितलं सुरुवातीला, द मोबाईल फोन इज द पोटेन्शियली डेंजरस थिंग राईट नाऊ. But is it possible for us to stay away from the mobile? It becomes difficult, really speaking. It becomes difficult. आपले ऑफिसचे आहेत प्रॉब्लेम्स बरेचसे आहेत आणि त्याच्यामुळे तुम्ही अडल्टहूड जेव्हा सांगतायत अडल्टला तुम्ही फॉलो करण्यासाठी, फर्स्ट ॲज अ पॅरेंट वेदर इट इज पॉसिबल फॉर अस टू फॉलो द थिंग दॅट वी नीड टू चेक.
So at least what we can do is keep certain places in the house as screen-free places and screen-free times. So nobody takes this phone while they are eating. Nobody takes the phone just before the bedtime. Nobody looks at the phone when everybody is sitting together and chatting.
Yes.
So there have to be some screen-free places and screen-free times.
There are restaurants who have started now. You submit your phone and they give you 10 to 15% discount. So for 2 hours, you don't touch your phone and you get 15% discount. So we can have this. We can increase their pocket money if they don't touch the phone for 2 to 3 hours. And some initiative we have to take so that all of us will be away from the phone and get de-addicted. Now coming to a little serious issue, Dr. Janjad, I would put this question to you. Dr. Navrange sir has explained us about POXO Act, and now everybody knows here that how mandatory it is for all the doctors to report it. But the question is like, we all know now the girls and boys, how free they are. They go for evening parties, night parties, and everywhere they are they have received a lot of freedom which was not there when we were adolescents. Now the pattern of like you have been experienced examining many rape victims, but now the pattern is like rapes are not as were all those resistance marks and all those things, they are not happening that way. It's a atypical presentation now. It's very easy that they go for a party and some drug has been put in her glass and she's just she cannot resist it. So what would you suggest that girls should be cautious about? What are those red flags which they should take seriously and stay away from such relationships?
You have rightly pointed out, madam. We see day in and day out cases related with the POXO. Like a girl, they might be having consensual sex, they might elope, and the parents, they file the complaint in the police station. And later on, the girl and the boy, they are being brought for the medical examination or age determination. Now, if you ask the girl whether she is really ready to do the medical examination or age determination, she might say, I don't want to do. The reason? Because it's a consensual sex. Now, as far as law is concerned, POXO, it is mandatory for us to inform. There is no other choice, right? So in that particular case, especially in the adolescent, they might try to experience some things. And because of experiencing something, they land up in some problems. And that is the thing they should avoid. But whether they are really aware about that during their schooling, probably that thing is not taught to them. That is the first thing. So sex education should be there. Something has to be taught to them during their adolescence, during their schooling, so that they should not land up in such problems.
So good touch, bad touch,
Yeah.
and the sex education
Yeah.
should be integral part of the education.
Absolutely,
they should
absolutely
know
true.
what is okay and what is not okay with, and the red flags should be picked up, and they shouldn't cross the line. They have to set some line for themselves.
I will tell you one important case where it landed up in the murder basically. A young boy staying in the ashram shala, he was murdered. And he was brought for the postmortem examination. And we inquired what might be the reason. And later on it was found that he was having some relation with an adult. Roughly, he's not that much adult, hardly 20 years old. And he was outside. And that boy, hardly 17 years, he was staying in the ashram shala. Both were boys. They were having relations. Sodomy was there. And after some days, as the boy realized that it was not good, he started avoiding that person. And based on that, he was being killed. So that is the extreme stage.
That's the extreme state. But
Yeah.
that it can lead to that.
Yeah.
So, yes, Dr. Jyoti, you would like to.
Yeah, I would just like to add, with regards to POXO, unfortunately, this issue of consensual sex and applicability of POXO is, I think, area that requires some degree of debate, and I think it needs to be, and apart from the fact that, what happens, as Sir was saying, that, you get adolescents, young adolescents who are, indulging in consensual sex, but because it comes under, because they're minors, or if the girl is a minor, then obviously POXO becomes applicable. Here, I think it's also important, now that we are talking about, adolescent mental health and adolescent health in general and education, it's important to educate them about consent. They're basically, what is consent? It's along with sex education, what should they be consenting to? When is it that they should be saying no? What is it that they should actually be educated about in terms of boundaries? What are the non-verbal, verbal boundaries that they should accept, not accept? And when should they be saying that, okay, this is fine. This is something that I will be okay with. When they're not okay with it, when they're uncomfortable, immediately leave that situation.
Yes.
And if they can't, then actually call out for help for leaving that situation.
Very, very important point, that the no has to be taken as a no, and the boundaries have to be decided, and that is very important in such scenarios, and they should be accepted by both of them. Like they have to revert back from the situation, or call for help has to be there. But at the same time, the boys have to also understand that whatever laws are there in the country, they are protecting the girls. And they might put you in a very dangerous situation, like what Dr. Navrange sir has given us the example as the case. So for boys to get out of it will be difficult. So you have to protect yourselves, understand the laws correctly, and we have to use it for protection of girls, as well as we don't want innocent boys to get trapped in that, and that's very important role here which we have to understand.
Now, in this case, madam, you have said, many times we have seen the tribal people, they usually get married early. And because of the early marriage, early pregnancy is also there. So if she comes to the medical treatment facility with a pregnancy and delivery, even though they are married, it is compulsory for us to inform.